Alright y'all, welcome back to another video. You know what's gonna be a good one? When I have a freaking notepad out and I wrote down the bullet points that I want to hit in this video. This isn't gonna be really vlog style, but it is gonna be very educational. So today we're gonna be talking about tips of how to make your glute training just more effective. And I have my OSEA in hand here because I'm so determined to have such a good leg workout today because last workout literally sucked. It was the worst leg day of my entire life. So I'm really ready to get in the zone. I have a super cute outfit on. I've never made this color combination and I'm obsessed with it. All from Fleet, but I love like the light blue with the dark blue. It's really cute. And I've also been snacking on my dried fruit. This is dried mandarin oranges. These are so freaking good. They're from Trader Joe's. I wish there wasn't so much freaking sugar in one serving. But you know, they just turned into a pre-workout snack now. You know what I'm saying? They're so good. We got the sugar. We got the OSEA. We got the game plan. We got the cute fit. We got it going on. Thank you. Growing your glutes is such a common goal that so many people have, and like for me, when I first started my fitness journey, dude, like that was the biggest, pretty much my only freaking goal when I first started. Like I really wanted to build up my legs and my glutes, and this is what I looked like before, a little bit of a progress photo. This is me back in 2017-ish, and then now this is me currently. Definitely have made like a lot of progress, and I think the biggest thing that people kind of forget or overlook is that your glutes are a multifaceted, there's multiple muscles that make up what you think of as your glutes, okay? So there's 3 different muscles that make it up. So you have your glute maximus, which is the biggest muscle in the body, and that's what takes up the biggest portion of your glutes. And then you have 2 smaller glute muscles, your glute medius and your glute minimus, which are kind of more in the upper outer portion of your glute and kind of more so up into your hip joint. And so it's really important to make sure that you're hitting all 3 of those glute muscles in your training, especially if you want to build really rounded, voluptuous, just like a well-shaped butt, to be fully honest. So that's what I feel like has really helped me in my training, is really prioritizing hitting all 3 of those muscle groups and choosing exercise that allow us to target all of those areas. So that's what we're gonna be diving into in this video, as well as some tips just to optimize your workouts and to really make sure you're maximizing your glute growth when you're in the gym, because that's the first, like the hardest part with people is getting them even to have the desire to want to get in the gym and like make a change. So if you're here, if you're watching this video, like I know that you have the honest effort, you're putting in that honest effort to make the change. So I want to be here to help you, give you the tools to help make that change and make sure you're not just spinning your tires. So I'm really excited to get into this because I think these tips are going to be really helpful. This is pretty much everything that I did over the past 6 years to get to this point. I am also a certified personal trainer. I became certified back in like 2018, 19, something crazy. So yeah, stay tuned if you're someone who's looking to grow your glutes. You! So like I said, there's 3 different parts of your glutes, right, that we're trying to hit: your glute medius, glute minimus, and then your glute maximus. So in order to hit all 3 of those different muscles all within your glutes, there's different movement patterns that you want to make sure you're doing, like different exercises that kind of categorize in different movement patterns to make sure that you're targeting and hitting each muscle. So there's 4 main movement patterns that you want to make sure that you're incorporating in every single one of your glute or leg workouts to make sure that you're really optimizing your training. So number 1, you guessed it, is a thrust or some sort of glute bridge. So that's going to look like a hip thrust, or like I said, a glute bridge when your back is laying on the ground. I'm not going to demonstrate that right now, but you guys have seen me do hip thrusts multiple times. That one is a major critical exercise, especially if you're really trying to target that glute maximus. And then you have something called hip hinging movements. This is something like an RDL, right, or a good morning. There's so many different varieties of these, or glute focused hyperextension. So that's something where you're hinging at your hip. So for example, an RDL or basically any sort of deadlift, you're pushing your hips back to start the movement and you're hinging here. So for example, for a Romanian deadlift specifically, you're not having any bend in your knee. All of that movement is from you hinging at your hips, and that's causing you to recruit your glutes by driving up through your heels. So that's category number 2, our hip hinging movements. Number 3/4, I personally like to break this up into 2 different categories, but it is very similar. And this is either a squat or a lunge. So I say that they're different because lunges are unilateral, and that means that recruits more stability, balance, and more inner thigh strength and muscle in there. However, the actual movement pattern is very similar. It's basically the lunge is like a single leg squat, you know what I'm saying? But that's gonna be something like this, obviously. Here you have your knee and your hip joint involved, but this is also gonna be hitting your glutes as well in a specific plane of motion. And then lastly, number 4 are abduction work. So that's gonna be anything where you're sweeping your knees out. So that's gonna be like the seated abduction machine when you're sitting and you're sweeping your knees out. It could be you're standing. I kind of been doing these a lot and you're holding a plate to your side and kicking your leg out. Or it could be when you're on the cable machine, similar motion. So it's anything kind of where you're sweeping your knees out, and it's something in the lateral plane. So those are the 4 basic movement patterns that you really want to make sure that you're hitting. You basically want to be choosing an exercise from those 4/5 categories, if you will, to make up your glute workouts, to make sure that you're hitting and targeting your glutes from all different angles, and therefore recruiting all of your muscles in your workout. All right, now getting more into kind of the performative tips that I have for you guys to really make sure that you're getting the most out of your workouts, especially if you really are looking to grow your freaking booty cheeks. So number 1, and probably the biggest tip I have, is freaking progressive overload. And hand in hand with that, it's just freaking training hard. If you really especially want to be growing, like adding mass to your glutes, adding size, not only strength, but like really making your muscles grow and really give them shape, like you have to be training hard. You have to be training with intent and intensity in order to evoke change. The whole point of weight training, the whole reason why it works, is because you're basically putting a stimulus on your muscle, which is telling your muscle, hey, I need to adapt, meaning in this case, I need to grow bigger and stronger to then be able to lift this load, because now I'm having this stimulus twice a week. I need to be able to keep up and lift this weight that this person is trying to get me to lift, right? So it's super important. Like if you want to see the results, you have to actually put in the work, and I know it's going to be painful, it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's really critical in order to see results. You can't just go through the motions and just do the reps and think it's doing something. Like you have to be pushing yourself. It's supposed to feel challenging, and you really should be going until the last few reps are very difficult, almost till failure. So progressive overload is essentially meaning you're increasing the difficulty of your lifts over time. This can look, this could come in a few different fonts, if you will. So this could be you adding more weight. It could be you doing an exercise with more sets than you did the week prior, or more reps than you did the week prior, incorporating less rest time, increasing the time under tension, so slowing down the movement. So basically just incorporating ways to increase the difficulty of your exercises goes a really long way. So that first exercise was a leg press. That's getting in the squat category. Then secondly, I moved into a RDL on the landmine bar, which I freaking love. And that takes me to my second tip, which is to maximize time under tension. I kind of just touched on this of a way to progressively overload, but you want to really make sure that you're controlling all parts of your lifts, of all of the movement throughout the whole entire exercise. You don't want to let momentum carry you through. You want to go very slow and controlled. Not only is that going to add intentionality to each rep, but it's also going to increase the time that there's a stimulus on your muscle, which is a huge contributing factor to progressive overload, like I said, because if you think about it, it makes sense, right? The longer that your muscle needs to resist a load, the more difficult it's going to be, therefore placing more of a stimulus on it. So as you can see with these RDLs, I'm really controlling the whole movement. I'm not rushing it. I'm going really nice and slow and really focusing on that mind to muscle connection with my glutes and with the muscles that I'm intending to target. So then my third tip here, because now I'm moving into some Smith machine reverse lunges, which by the way, I don't have any of the workout details in this video because I am in the middle of filming another week of workouts video for you guys, and this workout is the first one of the week. So if you're wanting to see or hear about the workout details, just stay tuned, because next week I'll have my full week of workouts video out for you guys. But my third tip that I have for you guys is to go through the full range of motion. This one you guys hear me talk about constantly because it just is freaking that important. And I wouldn't keep talking about it if I didn't feel like people overlook it. So full range of motion is essentially just meaning you're going through the whole entire portion of the exercise. So for example, this lunge, right? This reverse lunge, this is such an easy exercise to cut corners on. And that's what happens when people don't go through the full range of motion. It's just a way to make the exercise easier and cut corners. So in order to do a really thorough job and thoroughly go through each exercise, you want to make sure that you're hitting full depth, right? So in this case, I'm coming down to until right before that back leg is almost touching the ground. I'm basically going down as far as I can go until I can't anymore and coming all the way up. It really only, if you're cutting corners, right, by only doing half reps or quarter reps when it's not the intended exercise, right, if it's not something for like a burnout at the end, you're really truly only hurting yourself. It's kind of just the honest truth. Like, if you really want to see the results, you have to put in the effort, right? You get in what you put out. So you have to put yourself through that temporary uncomfortability in order to see the results that you're wanting to see. So I can't stress it enough. Go through the full range of motion. This also contributes to maximizing time under tension, right? It's increasing the time your muscles are under a load and a stimulus. So it is just so crucial to go through the full range of motion and take your time in doing so. And last point that I have for you guys in this video is to hit the squeeze freaking hard. What do I mean by this? I mean to freaking squeeze your glutes, but there's kind of fine print on this with the exercises that yield a proper, really hard squeeze. So let me explain. Basically, there's certain exercise, for example, that RDL that I did, our second exercise, the hardest part of that movement is when your glutes are in a stretched position, right? So the hardest part, when there's the most tension and load on your glutes, is when they're lengthened, when you're at the bottom of the movement and you're putting basically the weight down to your feet. Where on the contrary, with this hip thrust, the hardest part of this movement is the shortened position, right? When your glutes are in the shortened position and they're squeezed and they're locked out at the top, that's when there's the most resistance and stimulus and load on the muscles, when it's in the shortened position. So those exercises where the hardest part is when your muscles are in the shortened position, those are when you want to make sure that you're really prioritizing the squeeze and really completing the rep, because that's just a way to really round out that rep and really make sure it's completed thoroughly in its entirety, right? It's just basically another way to cut corners. If you're not fully locking out at the top when that's the hardest portion of the movement, which is basically the most important part, right? That's when there's the most stimulus on your muscles. That's when you're getting the most out of it. That's when you're getting the most bang for your buck. Like, if you're not optimizing that part of the lift, the most important part, you're just cutting yourself short and cutting corners. So you really want to make sure that you're hitting that squeeze hard, locking out at the top, especially for hip thrusts. It is so incredibly, unbelievably important. So the leg press that we did was fitting into the squat category. Then we went into our landmine RDL for more of the hip hinge movement. Then we went into the Smith machine reverse lunges to kind of be in that squat / lunge category again. And then we went into a thrusting motion, which are these hip thrusts / kind of calf bridges. And then lastly, I finished off with abduction work, just like I said. So these are cable lateral kicks. My camera was freaking dying, so I really had to hustle, and this was me trying to explain it beforehand because, like I said, I am filming for a week of workouts video. But this is a perfect workout example of hitting all of those main movement patterns. Again, don't feel like you have to fit all of these movement patterns in all in the same workout every single time you hit legs in a week, but it is important to touch on these movement patterns throughout the week, especially mainly when it comes to your compound movements that you're incorporating. That is it for this video. I hoped all the galleys that are here to be edumacated. I hope you guys learned something from this and that you had a takeaway. And if you just like to watch my videos just to chill and hang and watch me work out, I hope you enjoyed it too and got some sense of entertainment. I'm definitely trying to bring back more like, oh my god, there's a huge wasp nest or a bee nest. Are you kidding me? That's unnerving. Anyway, I'm definitely trying to bring back more of a balance between just kind of like my fun, healthy lifestyle vlogs and then also some more like educational videos as well if you were here, like I said, to learn on my channel. If you did enjoy this video and want to see more videos like this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, definitely subscribe because we have new videos going up every single week, every Tuesday and Friday. Thank you guys so much for your time. Again, I really hope you got something out of this. I'm sending you so much love and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.